Jazz hands.
You know, we've been getting a lot of response to our codependency segment. And so we just wanted to do a follow-up. And in fact, why don't you for a minute just chat with people while I pull up this comment, because I wanted to pull this up.
So I'll tell you why I'm so close, because Suzanne wanted me to get up
Closer
close
to
and
the
personal.
camera.
Told me to scoot my butt forward, so you're going to see more of my pores than
I
you'd
know.
like today.
She's all the good content. I'm the visual. I'm like, this is what looks
She's like,
best.
the lighting's horrible.
We have to change clothes. We have to
Yes.
get better lighting.
I didn't even know we needed lights. That's why I'm not doing this.
I
It
mean,
would
it's
be
really
bad.
important. I always say find your light.
Yes.
You know, if you want to take a good picture, face toward the window.
Yes.
Okay? Look, so the light is coming towards you. You always want to find your light. And
I am
it's
helping people find their inner light. I
Yes.
have no idea what she's talking about right
I
now.
love that. That's so
She
true.
helps you find your outer light. Then we team up to help you find your inner light.
Exactly. All right, so I'm going to read this comment. This woman actually messaged us personally on our What Your Friends Won't Tell You
So
page.
sweet.
And she just is struggling so bad with codependency. And I think her story is so common.
Yes.
So common.
Yes.
She's been doing this for 26 years in her marriage. She says, I try to fix and mend the family. I feel like I carry the weight of the world.
Yeah.
She said she felt like she's in a dark hole and it's getting darker.
I hate it.
So I didn't want to use her name because she did message us personally.
Yeah.
But what I mean, I feel her pain. I do feel it.
Yeah, you know, I had a series of things written down and I had them kind of in order, but I'm just going to break all the chains and start at the end instead of the beginning because, you know, it just struck me when you were talking about, because I was a very sick codependent. I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. So be patient with yourself. I can tell you I've been working on my codependency for years. So it's definitely a work in progress. But when I was in my darkest hour, I think the paradigm shift that I had to make was that I believed, like I say in the book, you believe and feel responsible for everyone else's thoughts, feelings, actions, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. I really believed that without me,
nothing would get done. Everyone would collapse, right?
no, I'm like embarrassed. You notice my face. I'm embarrassed to say it, but I really believe you don't understand. If I don't
do all
then
this stuff,
I have to do all of it. I have to
Right.
take care of them. I have to take care of them. And what was life altering for me, because I was codependent at birth, like as soon as my toes hit the ground. So what was very powerful for me when I went away to University of Florida to college, I had to take in a class, Exceptional People, and I had to do some volunteering. And my volunteering experience was at a nursing home. I was assigned 4 people. I will never forget these precious people. Sula, they had the most interesting Southern names. And Landis, I'll never forget Landis.
Landis.
And Landis changed my life because this is what he said to me. He was a quadriplegic. Okay, which means he could not use his arms or his legs. Okay, he was in the bed. He had over the years, he had been there for years, taught himself to he could hoist himself with his arms a little bit just to position so that he wouldn't get too uncomfortable. The kindest human being I ever met, but he told me his story and it changed my life. He said, I was a chicken farmer and I had a wife that was very needy, dependent. She kind of couldn't do much. He felt like he needed to kind of take care of everything. He needed to take care of the kids, so he needed to be home to take them. She kind of was a little sickly. He needed to handle all the finances because she couldn't work.
Right.
So she couldn't work. She couldn't really take care of the kids. She couldn't really take care of the house. So he did all of it, which meant that he only slept a few hours and he drove at night as a chicken farmer. And so he was so dedicated, so codependent, so much believing that everything would fall apart without him, that he developed a system with his big rig where he would sit his arm this way so that when, not if, when he fell asleep, because he needed to sleep while he drove a little bit, crazy, but he needed to, I was like, well, I'm going to fall asleep because I haven't had any sleep. When he fell asleep, that his arm would fall and it would
wake him up.
It would wake him up and he could get back on track. I mean, that's literally what his system was. And he hit a piling going 70 miles an hour in a semi.
And that's how he was a quadriplegic?
And that's how he became a quadriplegic. And he said, and Shannon, my wife is remarried. My children don't visit. And everyone is fine. And he was in this nursing home for about 5-10 years by the time I got to him. And it literally took the oxygen out of my lungs. And he said to me, don't ever think that people can't do it without you. Don't ever think I've got to do this because they need me. He said, you and me and everyone, we're disposable. If something happens tomorrow, people will cry for a minute and they will move on with their lives.
You know, this really hits me because, you know, I've been codependent in many aspects of my life, but at work, I was, you know, I believed that no one could do it, you know, like me or as well as me, or that it wouldn't get done if I didn't do it. And so I did everything.
Yep.
I worked the long hours. You know, I was there for 12, 14 hours a day in the beginning of my career. You know, I was, you know, if you needed anything, you needed someone, a reporter to go somewhere to a story, I was always the one they sent, you know, and because I was always say yes. I was the yes girl.
Yep.
Suzanne was the yes girl. If you needed me to MC an event, I was the yes girl. Suzanne would always do it. And, you know, it finally, it was a process. And I'm not saying it was an overnight thing where you like hear the story of the chicken farmer and you're like, okay, now I'm gonna be better.
It's the end of
but
that.
I will tell you that it's a process, and it starts by saying no. Just a no, just a little no every single day to something you really don't want to do, or it's not best for you.
Well, and what I'm focusing on is the step before the no. Because the step for me was, you know what, Shannon? You're not God. You are not in charge of all those stories. You are not the only way that people are going to get their needs met. And I say to people all the time when I'm working with them on codependency, they have their angels. Please let them have other angels. You can't be the only person saving everything. You can't be, you know, I tease with people like, I'll be one of your friends, but I can't be all of your friends. We even do it in friendships, right? She's going through a divorce, so I'm talking to her every single day, 3 hours a day. No.
It's not your job.
No, if you do that, you're enabling that person to believe that they can't build their own village. If you talk to them 10 minutes a day, they will be forced to go get their own village, to make more friends, to lean on more people, which is the best case scenario. Nobody gets burnt out. Everybody helps carry this person through their difficult time. They also learn some self-reliance. So for me, tool number one, paradigm shift. You are not God. Stop playing God and know that you are replaceable. Everything that you're doing, I mean, think about it. God forbid, people die every day. Mothers of children that have 4 children. And you know what? People step up. Those children get raised. The bills get paid. Things go well, like surprisingly well, right? So stop thinking
Take your
you're
hands
the
off
only
the
one.
reins.
Yeah,
Right.
step back. And you'd be blown away. And my story was going on bed rest when my son, I had to go on bed rest with him, and I had a, you know, almost 2-year-old, and I was thinking, oh my God, they did so much better without me. My aunt practically moved in. She cooked, she cleaned, she took care of my daughter. Everybody did better without me. I was like, wow, I'm not all that needed. It was fascinating to me. It was good. And I said, you know what? I retire my cape at this point, recognizing that it's
You know, when I first got married, I have a funny story about how, you know, when I first got married, I was doing all these nice wife things that you're supposed to do. I remember, you know, and I was working at CBS 12. I had a full-time job, was working just as hard as he was, but I would every morning wake up and I would make him a sandwich that he could take to work. Aww. And, you know, I remember there was this one moment where for whatever reason, I couldn't make the sandwich for the day. And he's like, oh, I miss my sandwich. And I was like, he's like expecting me now to do the sandwich, you know? So I stopped making the sandwich, you know what? And he figured out how to get his lunch every single day. Yeah. But, you know, people start to expect things because you keep doing them.
Yes.
So you need to step back. And it can start in small ways, like not making the sandwich.
And they're going to be mad.
They
Expect that, but only because, I mean, people are teachable. They're only mad because you did it yesterday.
Right.
They'll adjust.
Right. They will adjust.
And that's the hard part, because that moves into stage 2, or kind of another piece of this is that as a codependent, you want everybody to like you. And so when you start changing and you stop making sandwiches, people are like, wow, I thought you were going to make my sandwich. And they're not happy with you. And then that's when you get all anxious.
Swirling, and you're like, they don't like me.
He's
and
going to be mad at me.
Right.
Right. So you have to, that's another piece of this is, that's when my favorite thing in the world to do is this. Pat myself on the back. Because as long as I'm waiting on you to tell me that I'm great and that I'm the best wife and the best mother and the best friend and the best colleague and the best worker, as long as I'm waiting on you to tell me that, I have to run. If I can do this, well, you know what? I'm a good wife. Even though I didn't make the sandwich today, I'm a good wife. I'm emotionally available and, you know, intimacy's great and we have great talks. Like, I'm okay. I'm good enough. And especially with kids as a mom, that's the only way I survived being a mom, because as you guys know, they don't say thank you very much. They usually, the more you give them, they not nice.
The more they want.
The more they want. So a lot, I would be driving in the car sometimes, I just go, oh, you're a good mom. You're a good mom. You know, like they're not going to tell you for 10 more years. So just, you're a good mom.
Pat yourself on the
pat
back.
yourself on the back, because if you're waiting for it from others, you are now set up.
And you know, that was very hard for me when I started saying no at work. And I have very clear boundaries now about what events I will do on my time. It's my time.
Right.
And so, you know, I have to have very clear rules about what I will and what I won't do. And I remember when I first started saying no, it was not pretty.
Nope.
You know, and then you're worried, well, am I gonna lose my job because I'm not saying yes as much as I used to? But you know what? You're not going to lose your job.
Or you might lose your job.
Your kids or your husband.
You might lose your job. But my favorite thing that my friend said to me one day, and I'm, you know, I don't want to offend anybody religious wise. Like, some people have religion, some people have faith, some people believe in God, some people believe in the universe. Figure out what you believe in. I don't have any judgment either way. But this particular person said, oh, you think your boss is your sustainer? Like, you think that job is
what's going to, right.
She said, hey, listen, girl, whatever got you that job will get you the next job.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, so it's not all my eggs in this basket, and now I'm terrified that I have to do everything perfectly, or you're going to get rid of me
and work all those hours when you're driving yourself insane. You're not getting the sleep you need. You're not taking care of yourself.
Right.
So you really have to come up with boundaries. I hate that word. I don't even know why I'm using it because I really hate that word, because boundaries are so hard for me. Yeah. I think people think that they see us and they think, oh, it's very easy for us to set boundaries. It is not. No. It is not. It has gotten easier.
Yeah,
I will tell you, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
You know what you just reminded me of? I'm thinking, like, why did I get good at boundaries? What helped me? And what really helped me? And I think, you know, with Google today, it's so cool. You can just, you know, I can say something to you and you can be on your phone researching it and have the answer in 2 minutes. So one of the things I want to toss out there is Google assertiveness techniques. That changed my life. I remember I had no boundaries, and my mom, who's a therapist, sat me down and she said, you need to be assertive. And I'm like, what's assertive? I don't even know what she was talking about. I'm like, who's that? You know, and she said, well, you need to set boundaries. And again, I'm like, what are you talking about? So assertiveness techniques, that's my favorite. The broken record. You have someone in your life who's asking you to do something over and over again. They're bullying you. You say, oh, I can't do that. Well, you know, Suzanne, we're kind of dependent on you. Well, I know, but I can't do that. Well, you know, you are our lead anchor. You know, we really kind of expect. So they're kind of pushing, and you're like, eh. The broken record technique is you pick one sentence and you say it over and over again. I'd love to do that, but I have my son's soccer game and I can't make it on Saturday. Well, you know, but we really do rely on you. I'd love to do that, but I have my son's soccer game on Saturday. Well, you know, we do expect a little more from you now in this position. I'd love to do that, but I have my son's soccer game on Saturday. Nobody keeps bumping into a wall over and over again. By the third bump, they're like, and they turn around and walk away. The reason the broken record's so important is if you change one word, they will have a different argument.
Yeah.
Right? So if you change one word, they're like, well, I don't understand. You said it was a soccer game, but you can maybe do it Saturday, or maybe you can do it Sunday. So they come after you. So you pick one sentence phrase, and you stick with it. Right?
That's good advice.
The other assertiveness technique that was so beautiful to me, I'm sensitive, and a lot of times I would let people abuse me, like be really condescending or really nasty or really mean, and then I would leave kind of hurt or heartbroken, and I would never stand up to them, and I wouldn't know what to do, and I wouldn't know what to say in those moments, and then I'd carry it around for a week. And so this one I love. It's like when somebody's treating you bad, instead of getting defensive or reactive, it helped me understand. This is the sentence. Could you help me understand why you're being so condescending to me right now?
Love that.
Isn't that so beautiful? I love that. Could you help me understand why you're talking down to me right now? Could you help me understand why you're being so mean right now? I don't understand. And
those are good.
It's so good because the people are like,
what?
And then they go,
right.
I'm not being mean. And then I love my second favorite is, oh no, I didn't ask if you were being mean. You are being mean. I just don't understand why. And people are just like, they don't know what to do with it. It's beautiful.
That is, because I think a lot of people are so used to, well, you allow people to treat you how you allow it.
People treat you the way you let them.
Right. So if they're probably not even recognizing they're treating you that way because they've been doing it for so long. So when you put up that barrier,
Yes.
you know, it's almost glaring to them and shocking to them when you say
Yes.
something like that.
And where they end up is, well, I didn't mean to be condescending, and you're like, oh, you know what, I know, but you are.
were. Yeah.
And when you talk to me like that, it's very painful because it feels like you're talking down to me. And now they're like, oh, wow, okay. So now we're getting somewhere. But the assertiveness is like, you're not going to treat me like this. And I just need to understand what's happening here.
That's interesting that you say about assertiveness, because I think a turning point for me was when because I negotiated my own contracts. I never had an agent, so I did that all myself. You know, and in the beginning, I would just give everything.
Where do I sign?
Not right, exactly. Where do I sign? But I remember it was right in the midst of working my butt off, working extra hours for no more pay, because this was a time when we weren't getting overtime. And so literally I was working nonstop and not getting paid properly. I didn't think for it at the time. I bought this book on negotiating. And it's true. Like, you've got to just self-teach yourself. You've got to, teach yourself these strategies. And I think assertiveness is very good. You know, this taught me how to go into a negotiation with someone, and, having your facts together, how often I was working, laying it out. Because I think you really have to realize the person that you're dealing with on the other side, too. And how are they? Are they an emotional person? Are they a fact-driven person?
Right.
And so for me, dealing with my general manager at the time, she was very fact driven.
Right.
And so I went in with a list of facts
Right.
of things that I was doing for that company.
Right.
And it turned things around. It was amazing.
Yes.
It really was.
Yes.
And
you stood your ground. And
Right.
that's the broken record technique, is it's so hard for us to stand our ground. We end up saying 9 different other things, and then now we're so confused we don't even know what we're fighting for anymore.
Right.
So that one sentence, and that's what you did with your facts, like, yes, and this is what I'm doing.
Right.
Well, we don't know why we keep it right, and this is what
I'm
I'm doing. Right. And so it gives
and
you that tool.
it was the broken record
Yeah.
technique that I used. I didn't even know that was the name of it. But
Yes. See?
all right. Any other suggestions?
A couple others. So we had talked a little bit about this before, but we just wanted to flush these out a little bit. So one of them is literally asking yourself the statement, so for this person who wrote in, that you're not doing it right. That, I'm in my codependency, but I don't even know what I'm supposed to do differently. So pausing for 5 minutes and saying, what do I need to do to take care of myself? And that will lead you to the answer. So say you're sitting there, you go, I don't want to do this thing tomorrow night. I don't want to do this. I'm so stressed out. Great, what do I need to do to take care of myself? Well, I need to tell them that I can't come. Okay, well, how do I do that? And then you figure out, what you're going to say, what your strategy, but you have to first figure out, what do I need? Because we're so used to saying, what do they need? That you have to stop and say, what do I need? And then this next tool that I want to give you, everybody's going to roll their eyes and go, and I get kicked back all the time.
But it works.
You have to ask for your needs. And I've had a million people say, but that's
They
weird.
should just
They
know.
should know. Well, if you ask, then you don't even feel good when it happens. Excuse me?
Right.
If I ask for something that I need, yes, here's what I will agree with you. If I say, to my spouse, I need you to come in and give me a hug every time you walk through the door. The first 4 times I agree with you, he's like,
here's your hug.
Yeah, and you're going to feel like, oh God, you're only doing it because I asked you.
Right.
But guess what? In 3 months, none of that's going to be an issue. Going to come in, he's going to give me a hug, I'm going to feel loved, I'm going to feel what I need, he's going to be comfortable with it. So yes, asking at first is a little awkward, but how in the world does anybody know what you need? Like that psychic stuff, I'm sorry, that's crazy. Yeah. Nobody knows what I need because I'm
And if you continue to do it, and you're not, it's putting you in a dark place, which it eventually will. Codependency is
deadly.
It is. It's awful.
It's deadly.
It's awful. And when you get so involved in it and you don't know how to get out, that's part of the problem. That you have to make a change. You have to make a change.
You have to. And for the people right now at home rolling their eyes saying, she's so dramatic, codependency is not deadly. Let me give you some examples. I've got 2 or 3. 1, you're pushing so hard, you're so exhausted, you're picking your child up at midnight, you've said yes to everything they've asked. Do you know that more deadly than drunk driving is driving while you're sleepy and falling asleep at the wheel? And I personally know many people who that is what they died of, or that is what their accident was from. They weren't drunk, they were asleep, right? I shared the Landis story. So that's number one. You push yourself so hard that you don't take care of yourself and you end up killing yourself in a car accident because of your codependency, because you didn't say no and slow down.
Right.
Don't you love when you lose your train of thought?
I know.
My second favorite codependency story. When you're in your 40s, it comes back. After that, I'm not sure if it ever comes back again. But my best friend from college, I didn't ask her permission, but I think she'll be okay with this. My favorite story, her mom was a very good caretaker.
Yeah.
Love you. Very good caretaker, and dad needed a lot of care, and she just always put dad first, and she did a great job taking care of him. But it was probably on the codependent side because because what she started doing is ignoring her own needs. He had a lot of doctor's appointments. He had a lot of needs. She was taking care of him. And then what happened was that she started to have this little nosebleed, just a little nosebleed, not a big deal. So she just, she was just kind of wiping and tossing. And my dear friend went over to the house, and she looked around the house, and she's like, why are there bloody tissues everywhere? And the mom's like, oh, I had this little, nothing. And she couldn't, well, daddy needs me and I can't take time away. And so my friend was like, no, we're going to go to the doctor. She had a hole in her sinuses and was hemorrhaging, losing all the blood in her body through her sinus cavity. And at some point it would have been lights out because she was literally hemorrhaging to death. These are the things. Neglect of self can equal death.
Yeah.
So codependency, and my third little vignette is what we talked about last week with your brother with addiction. When we wrap ourselves around an addict, and some of you are actively doing this right now, you've got an alcoholic, you're running around trying to clean up after them, they're calling you from the bar, you're running out 1 o'clock in the morning to pick them up, and you're stressed out.
The places I went to go rescue my brother were not safe.
Dangerous.
Yes.
So you're wrapping your lives around them. So think about it. I remember this in my 20s. I'm driving frantically. I'm crying. I'm all upset. I ran through not a green. Let's not even call it yellow. Sorry, it wasn't orange. A red light. It hadn't just turned red.
It had been red.
It was red.
Wow.
And I could have been T-boned. And you know what? My death certificate would have said car accident. But it would have been codependency that killed me. So codependency is a silent killer for people, So it really is a deadly disease process, just like addiction. When we wrap ourselves around other people that have issues or that we're taking care of them or their addictions, these are the things that can occur.
Yeah. It's serious.
So dark place, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on the lighter side, you have just issues in not taking care of yourself. And then, you have the dark side, which is the side of addiction, which is hard. And codependence, I said this before in the other thing, you start to take on the traits of that person. Mm-hmm. So
of the addict when you're doing it that way.
Right. But go ahead. Sorry.
Will you remember what you were going to say?
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
Okay. ADD management.
That's right.
You have to say it immediately. Self-sacrifice versus self-care. We have to modify our giving. That's another great tool, is to say, people that are codependent always, I'm a giver. I love to give. It makes me feel so good. Okay, great. You can be a giver. I'm a giver. I love to give as well. However, giving versus self-sacrifice. So that's a question you ask. If I give this to Suzanne, if I spend 4 hours here today, am I sacrificing something that I need in order for me to stay healthy? If the answer is yes, then I need to say, can I come tomorrow?
Right.
I need to do it differently, because the sacrifice, again, is what's deadly and what leads to, just poor self-care.
And I read something, I love the little quotes on Instagram that I read all the time, but there was something really profound that I think Peaceful Mind, Peaceful Life, who I love their blog, posted about. It's okay to say no. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay. I think we think, oh, well, we've already committed to something, so I can't change my mind. You can change your mind. It's okay. It's okay to say, you know what, this isn't going to work for me today after all, and I need to change something to take care of myself.
I think you did that for like a year.
That's why we had a hard time doing this.
We did a year of that and then a year that I said no. But yeah, I mean, literally.
It was both of us saying it's just not right for us right now.
And you know what? Here's what it is. We don't want to say that because we're so uncomfortable with other people's disappointment.
Right.
Stop managing people's disappointment.
Right.
They'll get through it. When Suzanne used to do that, I would get very disappointed. But here we are today, and it's fine, and our relationship survived it, and it was okay, and she needed to take care of herself, and I understood it, but I felt disappointed, and guess what? Within an hour, I got over it.
Right.
Because it's my feeling, and I walked through it. But as a codependent, if you were codependent with me, you would have said, oh, she's disappointed, I don't want her to be disappointed, I'm going to manage her disappointment, and I'll just do it, and then it wouldn't have worked out.
Right.
You know, so it's okay for other people to be disappointed.
So we're healing? Is that what you're saying?
We're good. We're all good. And you let me deal with my own disappointment, which I needed to do and walk through it.
Yeah.
You know, so please.
And because someone is disappointed, you don't have to own that.
No.
You know, let them own their disappointment.
Yeah, and
you
get
don't
through
have
it.
to own
Yeah,
their
it's my
disappointment.
feeling, and I'll walk through it. And then I did set a boundary at one point of, I understand if you have to change plans, if you could give me a little more notice. Because I'm a bit of a planner, so if you can let me know if
and I'm not a planner, so I'm like, okay, 2 hours before we're supposed to meet. Yeah, can we not do that today?
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm in the car on my way there.
She's like, listen, B.
I was like, you're allowed to change your mind. Could you call me the night before?
I'm a recovering codependent.
But you know what, like you said earlier, it was so hard because I love Suzanne, but I said to myself, am I going to resent her if she does this more and she keeps doing this and I don't say something? So that's why I was like, well, what do I need?
Doing her thing that she needed to do. And I was fine with that. And you know what? It was eye-opening to me because I really said to myself, you know what? I have to take other people, I have to realize that this isn't just about Suzanne. That, it's also about Shannon, and I have to respect her time as well. And that was important for you because you wanted to make other plans if we weren't going to be getting together. So,
but it wasn't a big change because I can even hear our grumblers saying, "But you can't change people." I didn't change Suzanne. She knew on Tuesday and probably wasn't going to work out. Right. But then she would be like, "Well, but maybe I can make it work. Maybe I can make it work." Right. And then on Friday she's like, "It's not going to work," or Saturday, and then she'd let me know. So by me asking for what I needed on Tuesday, she's like, "You know what? I'm not even going to mess with this. It's not going to work." And I was like, great, this is perfect, right? So it's not even about changing people. It's just you didn't know what I needed until I asked. Right. And then everything worked out.
Oh,
perfect.
That's a perfect
Here
way
we
to
are.
end
We
this.
love each other again, right?
I know. So yeah, just be really good about asking for what you need and really sitting down and saying, what do I need? What do I need?
Because you deserve it.
Yes.
You deserve it.
Well, I hope that helped. And if you have any other questions about codependency or any issue, please hit us up and let us know. We are always wanting to answer your questions, and we're always looking for great show topics. So make sure you give us some that any struggles you're dealing with.
Take care of you.
Love you.
Love you.
All right. Love you guys too.
Bye.
Bye. Of course, I have to take it off before it will stop because it's not stopping when for whatever reason, it doesn't like this little thing.